welcome back to another video. This really popped when I saw it. That to me is a monster increase. Again, this book got hot. This book is ready to go higher.
So let's jump right into it.
We are back today with another statue review from Diamond Select Toys. Without further ado, let's get into the review. What is going on YouTube? This is Lawrence over at Mighty Comics and Collectibles, and welcome back to another video. Today we're here for another comic book spotlight. That's right, we're going to go over Incredible Hulk #1 in this amazing Silver Age Grail. But before we get started in this video, guys, like always, I'm going to ask you, if you're not a current subscriber of the channel and have been enjoying some of my content, do me a favor, go ahead and click the subscribe button for me. You will not regret it. I also want you to Hulk smash that like button and turn on the notification bell because it lets you guys know when I post new videos. With that said, we're talking about Incredible Hulk #1, and this book was released in March 1st, 1962. But actually, the cover date was May of 1962. Incredible Hulk #1 features this iconic cover by the great Jack Kirby, but also features art by George Rousseau. Stan Lee has stated many times that Frankenstein was the original inspiration for this character, and it's on full display in one of the most iconic Marvel covers of all time. Incredible Hulk #1 is the first appearance of Bruce Banner and the Incredible Hulk in Marvel Comics, but also features the debuts of other major characters such as Betty Ross and General Thunderbolt Ross. In the first issue, the Hulk was introduced with gray skin, we all know that, but it wasn't until issue #2 that we got that iconic green skin Hulk we all know and love today. Incredible Hulk #1 was written by the great Stan Lee, penciled by the amazing Jack Kirby, inked by Paul Reinman, lettered by Artie Simak, and of course edited by the great Stan Lee. Incredible Hulk #1 features a synopsis of the Incredible Hulk turning into our favorite green or gray monster in this instance. What I do in this spotlight video is I give you a little bit of a synopsis of the book itself, and this one was a long one. So sit back, relax, and let's get into it. At an army base in the desert, Dr. Bruce Banner is readying the first test of his invention, the G-Bomb. General Thunderbolt Ross wants to know why Banner keeps delaying the test. His daughter Betty tries to calm him down with little success. Banner tells Ross that the final countdown has begun. His assistant, Igor, demands that Banner share his work so that someone may check his calculations. "I don't make errors," Igor says Bruce, and when Igor threatens him, "You know how I detest men who think with their fists." Banner takes a last look at the bomb with binoculars. He notices a teenage boy in a car, tells Igor to halt the countdown, and hurries after the boy in a jeep. Igor, who supposedly defected to the US from the Soviet Union, is a spy and decides not to stop the countdown so that America will lose its greatest nuclear physicist. Banner gets the boy into a trench, but before he can jump in himself, the G-bomb explodes. Gamma rays saturate Banner's body. Hours later, Banner regains his senses. The boy Rick Jones, who drove onto the base on a dare, brought him back to base. Banner waits for some kind of symptoms to appear. When night falls, Jones turns on a radio, actually a Geiger counter. Its clicking increases, and Banner changes into a huge gray figure. "Get out of my way, insect," says the figure, shoving Jones aside. He pushes through the wall, wrecks a jeep full of soldiers when it hits him, and wanders off to hide. Jones follows. The thing that was once Banner, with Jones trailing him, sneaks past the soldiers trying to find him and finds Banner's cabin. Inside, Igor is trying to find Banner's notes. He shoots at the Hulk without effect. The Hulk takes away his gun and crumples it with one hand. He picks up Igor and slams him down on a lab bench. Jones notices a folder taped to the bottom of a large beaker labeled "Top Secret, Report on Gamma Ray Bomb," and takes it. The Hulk picks up a photo of Banner and says, "I know that face, but it is weak. Soft. I hate it. Take it away." Jones reminds him that he is Banner. The Hulk briefly remembers what happened, then says, "I don't need you. I don't need anybody. With my strength, my power, the world is mine. As for you, you are the only one who knows who I really am." He advances on Jones. The sun comes up at that moment, and the Hulk changes back into Banner. The MP storm in, arrest Igor, ask Banner about the Hulk, take the folder, and leave. Betty comes to apologize for her father's outburst and tells him he should get medical attention. Banner says he'll call her and show her out. He tells Jones that he's afraid he will change out again at sunset. In his cell, Igor uses a transmitter overlaid on his thumbnail. The message finds its way to the Gargoyle, a deformed Soviet scientist and secret agent who travels by submarine and short-range missile to the desert. Banner and Jones take a jeep out into the desert before night falls, in case he changes again. He does change, and the Hulk wrecks the jeep. He recognizes the area near Ross's house and decides to visit Betty. At the same time, Betty decides to take a walk. She encounters the Hulk and faints in his arms. The gargoyle appears. The gargoyle shoots the Hulk and Jones with drug-filled bullets, making him like robots. They follow him to a truck whose driver also gets shot. Ross finds Betty, who is frightened by her encounter, but says in spite of everything, there was something sad about him, almost as though he was seeking help. Ross says, if it takes an eternity, I'll find that monster. The gargoyle and his captives reach a sub on the coast and get into a jet. As they streak towards the USSR, the sun rises on the Hulk, who changes back into Banner. Upon landing, the gargoyle is astounded to find a man instead of a monster. He begins to cry because he wants to be normal too. Banner treats him with radiation and makes him look normal, but takes away his super intelligence. The man who was once the gargoyle realizes how the state has used him, so he puts Banner and Jones on a jet for home and blows up the base along with himself. I hope you stuck with me through that synopsis, guys. That was a really long one, but I gotta be honest, I really didn't know the ending of that story. I knew how Bruce turned into the Incredible Hulk, but I didn't know anything about the gargoyle and what happened thereafter. But what I do in these comic book spotlights is I go over the prices of where this book has been, where it is now, and of course, where I think it's going. So we're going to jump in at the numbers, and we're going to start with a 2.5 grade, guys. I think that's a nice solid grade for this book, and if you want anything, to be honest, over like a 0.5, I think you're in the money on this book no matter what. But we're going to start, like I said, at a 2.5. And the 2020 average for this book was on one sale was $8,300, which is quite amazing. Just been one sale at this grade. The 2021 average was $12,731 on 4 sales. The 12-month rolling average was $17,475 on 4 sales as well. There is no 90-day average because there wasn't any sales during that time period. And now the last sale was June of this year, $18,300. The one thing I always tell you guys when I talk about this book is the scarcest Marvel key out there. Not a lot of people collected this book. Not a lot of people took care of this book when they had it back in 1962. So that leads to fewer copies being kept out there. Wasn't a popular book. We all know that they printed Incredible Hulk number 1 through 6. Then they stopped for a while, went over to Tales to Astonish, and then back to Incredible Hulk at issue number 102. To me, this is one of the best investment books you could buy out there in Marvel Comics because of its scarcity and because of the popularity of the character now. Again, we had such a massive jump from $8,000 to almost $18,000 in about just over 2 years. We're going to check out a 3.0 now grade. Again, there's a lot of differences between the grades in all these books, so keep that in mind. At a 3.0, the 2020 average was $9,150 on 2 sales. So a little bit higher, than the 2.5, which is what to be expected. The 2021 average was $19,912 on 10 sales. So a lot more sales at the 3.0 grade. The 12-month rolling average is $24,455 on 8 sales. So a lot of people were trying to look for this book in the higher grades. The 90-day average is $25,261 on only 2 sales, but the last sale, July of this year, $25,800. So no decreases whatsoever on these last 2 grades, which I find remarkable. So one of the things that I've said in the past about this book is this is one of the most recession-proof books that there are right now. So keep that in mind. If you're looking only for investment purposes, this may be the book that you're looking for. The last grade point I took was the 1.0 because not everybody can go out there and buy a 2.5, 3.0, the higher grade books. At a 1.0, the 2020 average was $5,373 on 4 sales. That tells you how popular this book was for how cheap it was. We're talking about 2 years ago, 2020, you could have had this book for $5,000, so keep that in mind. The 2021 average was $7,914 on 5 sales. The 12-month rolling average was $8,976 on 4 sales, and the 90-day, $9,234. That was the last sale as well, back in July. Now, we don't have any sales data over the past 4 months or so keep that in mind. I kind of think we might get a little bit of plateau, possibly a little dip, but that's about it. Again, we're talking under $10,000 for a 1.0 of the first appearance of one of the greatest characters that Stan Lee, Jack Kirby, and all of them created. We're talking about a monumental book that is also super scarce. It's one of the best books I'd be buying right now out there because of that fact. This book, I think, is only going to go higher in the long term. It is a Marvel Grail. It is a Silver Age comic that is only getting better in price from here on out. Again, every comic is subject to dips. So everybody freaking out when you see Amazing Fantasy 15s dropping or other great big grails dropping in price a little bit, don't panic. Talk about owning these books for the long term, and that's how you have to collect them. This is a different market now than it was a year and a half ago to 2 years ago. Everything has to be bought for the long term. We're not flipping these big books in a short period of time anymore. That's it for this video, guys. I hope you guys enjoyed this one. I really wanted to give you a little bit of information about Incredible Hulk #1, the synopsis, and of course where I think this book is going in the near and far term. This is Lawrence over at Mighty Comics and Collectibles saying thank you for watching, and I'll talk to you guys soon.